Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my public life as an American nerd. My name is Eddie, and thank you for the second episode. I see that you came back and welcome. I also
I'm
have
number two. I'm number
you're
two.
number two.
All
You made number
right,
two.
right on.
Yeah. This is my friend Andy Micheli from Roadwork. He's going to be my special guest here on my life as an American my public life as an American nerd. So, how you doing, Andy?
I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for having me. This is a pleasure.
Yeah, we're gonna go over a few things, talk about some of our past, some things that we're interested in. Uh,
Cool.
Andy, how'd you get started as a musician?
Oh, I love telling this story. I was a little kid. I grew up in Rolling Heights, as you know, and I was watching TV as a little boy. I must have been maybe 4 or 5 years old. And Elvis Presley came on. That they were I'll never forget Channel 9. They used to run these reruns, and I was watching I believe it was Jailhouse Rock or one of those early Elvis Presley reruns they were showing on TV, probably about 1963 or 4 or something
Wow.
like that, maybe 62. And I'm watching this and I said, oh my God, I want to do that. So I'd grab a broom, and I would pretend to be Elvis, shaking, doing the Elvis dance.
Yeah.
My
Shaking your
grandparents saw
hips.
that. Yeah, I was shaking my hips, and they loved Elvis, my grandparents on my mom's side. So they said, get on the table and do that dance, and we'll get you a guitar. So that was my first, I got up on the table. I felt like a fool, but I had my Flintstone building blocks, and I pretended it was a guitar. And
That's cool.
they bought me sooner or later, I bugged them. It took them a while to get it to me, but I didn't know anything, but
And now here you
help.
are. Here you are playing with Roadwork.
Yep.
Who are the other band members of Roadwork?
Uh, we have Chad Michaels on bass guitar, Dave Wilbert on drums. They're both from out where you are, out in Victorville area,
Oh
or at
wow.
least Dave was. He just sold his house and moved, I think, to Ontario. And
Okay.
then Mike Prince, who's our lead vocalist, who's from Havasu, Lake Havasu.
Okay.
So yeah,
You guys play a lot in Lake Havasu.
yeah, we do. We, throughout that whole pandemic, we've been busy. Arizona, I think we stopped for about a month, to clear, see what was going on. But and that was back, I don't want to say February or March of last year. And since then, we've just been going every single weekend up there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
It's been
look at you
great.
guys' schedule. You get that's not a bad gig to be doing it
No,
at the Lake Havasu.
no, we're so blessed to be playing while other bands were shut down and haven't played in a year and a half.
Yeah.
We were out there playing. Yes, we had to travel, but the money was good, and it really built up a great reputation for Roadwork in a whole nother area,
Yeah.
that was great. But I remember begging to get a gig out there. Our first gig was at McKee's in Lake Havasu. We had already played in Parker quite a bit at the river, at Fox's and Sundance. But it was great. We were able to take that up to Havasu, and now we're just so booked.
Is it starting to get crowded there again?
It's crowded. It always has been.
What about during the pandemic?
It was great. Arizona is a whole different ball game compared to California was.
Yeah.
And we still did a few gigs in California, but they were hush gigs. It's like, don't tell anybody you're playing here. They're gonna come in and shut us down. So we snuck in a few, and but mainly we've been gigging ever since, I want to say, March. We've been playing every weekend up in Havasu.
Yeah,
so much so that I've asked for some time off because it's just getting to me after.
Yeah,
it's too much.
Wears on you.
Yeah, it does.
I haven't been to Havasu in like 10 years.
Oh,
I just remember the canyons would be so packed that you could actually walk on boats from boat to boat to boat, just
exactly.
Partying. But
right,
that's not a bad gig that you guys have.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
No, it's great. All the clubs out there. It was a little tough this last weekend. We just played Friday and Saturday, and it was it was hot. It was like 128 degrees and 111, 112 at night. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
yeah, I couldn't wait to get home from this one. But
Yeah. And
it was fun.
where you from? Where you living?
I'm from Rolling Heights. You know Welland Heights
Yeah.
really well.
Yeah.
I was born in Alhambra, but I think I was 2 years old when we moved to Rolling Heights. And so we lived there when there was nothing. So that's why I like to say I'm from there, although I'm currently residing in San Jacinto.
Yeah.
But that's where my upbringing was, in Rolling Heights.
Yeah. I grew up in the town close to Rolling Heights. I grew up in La Puente, Puente Hills area.
I got to stop you because it's funny. When we moved to Rolling Heights, they didn't call it Rolling Heights back then. This is like 1960.
Yeah.
They used to call it La Puente. So
really?
Yeah, Rolling Heights was called La Puente for years because nobody knew. Yeah, I think it was until I was about 65, maybe 66, where they started calling it Rolling Heights for what it was. So yeah. Well, so when everybody asked me where I lived, I said I live in La Puente.
Yeah, depending on who I was speaking to, I lived in Puente Hills.
Okay.
Yeah. I went to Catholic school my whole life. Right there in La Puente. I went to St. Joseph's, and I went to Bishop Vermont. They're off the outskirts of La Puente and West Covina.
Yeah.
But then like I said, I told you just recently, I purchased my first house right there in Rolling Heights.
Oh, right.
And so I'm very familiar with that area.
Yeah.
But I remember cruising, like when I was a teenager, cruising Colima Boulevard and stopping off at Tommy's right there.
Yeah.
It's not Tommy's anymore, though.
Well, imagine when I was a kid, they didn't even have the 60 freeway going through there. I remember when that came in. The only way you could travel was to hit Nogales or Fullerton and somehow get to Valley Boulevard to go to Whittier or go to LA or go wherever you wanted to go. There was no Pomona freeway there at the time. So yeah, there was nothing. Orange Groves and Colima was called Fifth Avenue when I was a kid. So yeah, that's how old I am. I'm aging myself here.
I remember going to the Puente Hills Mall and seeing them film Back to the Future.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Back to the Future.
We used to go there when they first opened it. I think it was 75 is when they first opened that mall. That's where you go and pick up on chicks, man.
Yep.
At the Puente Hills Mall.
They're in the Showboat and Skate Country.
That was fun. Yeah, God.
Those I remember some memories.
Yeah, that was the only place to go. I remember when that finally came in, you know, it was like, wow, something to do out here. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was pretty boring. It was pretty boring. Yeah.
Yeah, I had I grew up right in that area. A lot of cool memories.
Yep.
So now you're in San Jacinto.
Yep, Riverside County. Where men are men, sheep run scared in San Jacinto.
Crazy. So what type of music do you guys play?
This is one of the things I love most about my band, Roadwork, is that we play everything from, we can do, you know, the earliest stuff we do is some Stones, Beatles, you know, anything that was 60s. But lately we're doing 90s, 2000 stuff, Rage Against the Machine, Disturbed, Lit. Then we even do some 2000 stuff like with Greta Van Fleet, and then, you know, late 70s, early 80s, a lot of 80s stuff, Whitesnake, Van Halen, of course. You know, the later 70s stuff would be like Ted Nugent and stuff like that. So, you know, we have a
large variety of different types of music.
I really think, you know, and depending on who we're playing for, you kind of fill out the crowd at every gig that you're playing. And, you know, you can tell people want to dance more. So we'll play some of the 60s, 70s stuff, you know, the dancing stuff, and even some 90s stuff. But we have such a great pool to choose from, you know what I mean, of material. That's one thing we do it all, you know what I mean? Yeah. We pretty much do it all, and we do it a little bit harder than most bands do, you know?
I've seen quite a few videos of you guys.
Yeah.
You guys do the 90s music very well. some Rage Against the Machine. I've never heard
yeah.
a cover band. I've never heard a band actually play Rage, and you do it
Uh,
well.
Yeah, I've heard a couple bands do it. I don't, I'm a stickler for doing things as close. Here's my motto. If I'm going to learn a song, and we're a cover band. So if I'm going to play a song that somebody's heard for 20, 30 years, I want to play it exactly as the guy. So I'll get into what equipment did he use? What kind of guitar? What kind of effects did he use? So I don't want to be just a band that goes out there and plays it my way all the time, because people just go, they're used to hearing it.
Tom Morello is basically like a Van Halen, where he creates his own sound,
Yeah,
creates his own music.
Very innovative.
Watching Tom Morello do stuff on the guitar, he makes the guitar sound like a turntable sometimes, where he's scratching on it.
Yeah,
you would think that he's scratching records, but no, he's doing that on the guitar.
Well, let me give you a little bit of Tom Morello.
All right, here we go.
He's like, actually Eddie Van Halen came up with this, that, and so he took the pick and was like that kind of sound, and then he uses an octavator, because like in this one, he does that kind of thing. So I love Tom Morello in the sense that he was an innovator too, with the effects and stuff. So he was good. But yeah, so there's a lot of tricks that I want to know. I want to know what Tom Morello did what did he use on that song? What key is he playing in? How is this guitar tuned? Down to I'm very anal about that shit. OCD. Some people think I have OCD when it comes time to learn stuff,
Growing up in La Puente, you kind of said like essay, I grew up in an area where it was mainly a lot of Hispanics. That's the area that I grew up in. So there's a lot of R&B. There's a lot of early rap, the beginning of rap with Sugar Hill Gang, and some Casey and the Sunshine Band. Michael Jackson in his early years when he came out with the Off the Wall. My brother had those albums, but I grew up in going to a school where it was predominantly white, and I grew up listening to that plus listening to rock, heavy metal.
Now you said you went to Bishop Aman? Is that what school?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we played there before. Probably when you were going there.
Was it Roadwork or a different band?
Roadwork, yeah, it was.
Oh wow.
Roadwork played there back, I think, because my cousin went to that school. His name was Kenny Micheli, or Micheli, they used to call him, but he was just a couple years younger than me. But we ended up somehow playing there. I don't know how, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. We opened for Flock of Seagulls.
Oh,
there.
Really?
Yeah.
Flock of Seagulls played there? Van Halen played there.
Yeah, Van Halen played everywhere.
Yeah, they played at my high school. I was too young. I wasn't going there, but they played there as well.
Right.
But listening to the different types of music, I actually, my very first album. Do you remember your first album that you bought?
Yes. The first album I ever bought? Yes. I do remember. Beatles.
Beatles.
I was a big Beatles fan when I was a kid. So I think I want to say the first Beatle album I ever got was Meet the Beatles. Their first American release. Yeah. And it had already been out for a few years before I bought it.
When the British invasion came over.
Yeah, I was a big fan of the Beatles. I still am. Still one of my favorite bands.
The very first album I bought was Women, Children First.
Oh, was it Van Halen?
Van Halen?
Wow.
Yeah, that was the very first album I bought, and it was funny coming from my family, because my family would listen to R&B. My dad listened to doo-wop. My mom would listen to country, and also the Beatles, Rolling Stones. But my first album I bought was Van Halen. Listening to Tora Tora. Wow. I couldn't even play that in my house. Like that's devil music. What are you listening to? And the guitar riffs. My mom would go, "You're nuts! Turn that off." You can't even understand it.
My bass player tells me the same stories. This guy is a phenomenal bass player, but he also plays guitar, and he also grew up. We listened to the same kind of stuff, Grand Funk Railroad.
Oh,
and,
actually, I have some of those albums too.
Yeah. So my bass player, Chad, he can tell you stories. His dad was like, "Turn that devil shit off. It's gonna corrupt your mind." Yeah. So I can imagine what you went through. I was so lucky in the sense that my mom was a singer. And although she sang like Judy Garland and show tunes kind of stuff, Peggy Lee, stuff like that, um, I I was into rock and roll the first time I heard Elvis, and the first time, and she was very supportive. I knew she was thinking. I'll never forget the first gig that she went to see us play. Another Catholic school where we were playing at. So I invited my mom.
Mission, maybe?
No, it wasn't Bishop Amant.
Servite.
Lydia.
There's quite a few.
Lydia would know. She'd know what school was, but yeah, it was somewhere off of in Rosemead or close to off Rosemead Boulevard somewhere, and Beverly. So I can't remember where it was, but anyways, I invited my mom.
I think it's Don Bosco.
That's it, Don Bosco. And my mom came, and she was like, "Oh my God!" I could tell she didn't like it, because we were doing Van Halen and stuff, but but she was so supportive. You know what I mean, in that endeavor. But she always said, make sure you have something to fall back on.
It's just so funny now that we listen to this. Some of that music that we used to listen to that they call devil music is actually on Coast 102 or something like that. A really mellow radio station. Yeah.
That's weird that you said your dad did that, because I hear that from so many people. It's like, so my son, he likes the hip hop stuff. So and he tries to rap to the hip hop. He wants to be I don't know,
hip hop artist.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't want to be. I don't like it. I'm the kind of guy, but I'm like, oh, that's cool. You could do this and you could do that, but yeah, you try to be supportive of it. And I just remember that the way my parents were about it.
I try to keep an open mind with music even today.
Yeah, you have to.
It's just so hard. Because when I'm I used to listen to hip hop when it first started, and I used to listen to the rappers back then, and you can understand what they're saying. You can hear the words clearly. And today's rap, what the hell are they saying? They're mumbling.
And I don't like the cursing and the derogatory comments, and I think it divides a lot of people, and it makes people hate cops and stuff and whatever. Yeah. I don't want to get into that, but it's like I like stuff with a positive connotation to it.
What's so funny about what you just said with the cops is that Ice-T, when he first came out, he did his rap and everything. But in the 90s, he was in a band called Body Count, and they had a song called Cop Killers. Right. And that song was like derogatory to cops. Yeah. And it was this, and that's the same time NWO was out. But you watch him now, and he so much supports the police departments, and he actually is a cop on TV, and so many things have changed and switched.
It's life has a funny way, especially as you get older, of making you realize just how stupid you were when you were younger. You know what I mean? Yeah. I reminisce about the old days, and I'm like, I'm nothing like that anymore. Thank God, things change.
I was going to a Catholic school, and I would listen to Ozzy Osbourne, AC/DC. Yeah. And don't know. That's definitely, nuns would be like, turn that stuff off. And I remember we used to do an aerobics class in 7th grade, and I was in charge of bringing the music. And I would bring Twisted Sister, songs like that. And they'll tell me, turn that off. Yeah, crazy.
It's insane, man. We must have played a dozen Catholic schools, like where you went, and a bunch, especially the ones out in LA County. We even did some in Los Angeles. And but yeah, you always wondered how the priests could sit there and watch the show. Some of them were, the priest would be. I actually had one of my guitars blessed by a priest when I was
really
Catholic. When I was a kid, I went to St. Martha's, and
right there.
Right there in La Fuente, right? So it's like
Amar and no, is this?
So I made my first Holy Communion there and stuff. So it would never cease to amaze me how sometimes they could be so cool. They would never come up and tell us, "Oh, don't play that," or "Don't do this," and So I remember one time, I think it was Bishop Amant or one of these Catholic schools, the drummer came out with a fake joint. You know what I mean? And during one of our songs, he would, Yeah, I think it was during Ice Cream Man or something like that. He'd come out, Mike would join up, and Priest didn't say nothing to us about it. It was like really cool. Some of those places are worse than regular schools. So
well, let me tell you, I had some priests that were really cool, but I do remember this one um priest. I'm not going to say his name, but he would go behind the altar and sit there and drink wine.
Oh
and
yeah,
then
a lot
take a
of them
little
are
bit more,
alcoholics.
then go back out. And then so we started doing that too. We started before going to having service to drink the wine before we did service. Yeah, it's crazy. Now you have
know what, man? Nothing is as it appears to be. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Things are always different. And you know, and you just go, hey, you know, they got a life too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, they're human.
So you have a replica. No, Eddie Van Halen called it Frankenstein guitar.
Yeah, it's a replica of the Frankenstein. Although you know, Eddie's first guitar was so different than this in a sense that, you know, this was made while he was still alive. So he made a series of these. He made a white and black one like his first guitar,
right.
And then he made a black and yellow. They call it a Bumblebee, which I had, but I sold it. And then the Frankenstrat, you know, came from the first guitar, actually, the white and black one. You can kind of see the white and black, still the stripes, the way he had it like this. You know, I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, these black stripes were like on his original white leg.
Turn it on the side and show the little
this here?
Yeah, the star right there. Yep, there's a star.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I think the guy I bought this from put that there.
Okay.
Right there, yeah.
No, that was, he actually mashed two guitars together to get that sound.
Right.
Because they didn't have a guitar like that. He actually put the guitar together and
he was an innovator,
his own sound.
Yeah. It was. I remember when I was a kid, and first time I picked up a Fender Stratocaster, and I played it, and I was playing with the whammy bar, and I'm going, "Oh, that's so cool," you know. But it wouldn't stay in tune. You could do these really cool dive bombs, but it wouldn't stay in tune. But he figured out a way, the way he wound the strings, and then he put oil, 3-in-1 oil up here on the nut so that the strings would not get caught up in the thing here. But I remember just thinking, I love the feel of a Stratocaster. I love the thinness of the neck, and it feels lighter than a Les Paul or something that I had back in those days. But the thing I hated about it was the pickups. So he just got smart and said, hey, you know, I'm going to put a humbucking pickup in a guitar and let it rip from there. You know what I mean? And what a great idea. Then he probably said, okay, you know, I don't need the tone knob. I just need one volume knob, one pickup, you know. And he was just a great innovator. Trial and error is where he, you know, got all that stuff. But he approved these. And like I said, I had a black and yellow one, the Bumblebee one.
Right.
I sold it. I didn't like it. I was like, oh, this guitar feels cheap. It was terrible. And the neck, I had fret.
Did he improve that one too, as well? Did he improve the Bumblebee as well?
Yeah, he did. But the good news is I just got this about a week ago. And the guy I bought it from, he is a guitar guy. He's a guitar luthier. So he, you know, he did the frets. His name's Ed also. And he did the frets. He filed the frets down. He made sure the neck was nice and straight. He took a lot of time and effort to make it. When I played it, I go, oh, I'm just going to buy this to flip it. You know what I mean? Because everybody wants, now that Eddie's dead, everybody wants to buy an Eddie guitar, you know?
Right.
But then I played it and I go, holy shit, this thing's one of the best Eddie Van Halen guitars I've ever played, you know? That's cool. And so, yeah, I'm a big fan of this guitar.
Okay, I'm going to tell people how we met. Okay. I don't know Andy. I'm doing a show called Scare Fair up in Victorville on October 30th. Scare Fair is going to have two bands. The first band is going to be Roadwork. So that's how we met. This is my first time interviewing Andy. Now I have the pleasure of watching Andy perform live. Andy, I want to show the audience what you can do with this guitar. Can you play Eruption from Van Halen? Not the whole thing, just some sounds.
Sure. Let me get to my settings here, you know. Okay, so There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Where's your
And you know
microphone?
what? I never stopped learning that song, that little lick, those licks. I'm always constantly learning. Oh, he's doing something different there. I go back and revisit
You'd
it.
have to watch to see what he's actually doing, because
You know what?
because
you
you
can go
can't
on
learn
YouTube.
that.
Yeah, you can go on YouTube and there's some 12-year-old kid who show you how to play it, you know.
Yeah.
But you have to remember, I was learning that when there was none of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was Van Halen came out, the first album, and I was like, what is that? It sounds like a keyboard, you know.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it was a guitar. And then a guy who was playing with it at the time says, I think he's, you know, hammering. So we took our picks and we started doing this. You know what I mean? But we weren't in the right key or none of it, but it was like, okay, we're getting close, you know? So you had to sit there and just listen to the album until you wore the needle out. You know what I mean?
Because you can't read that on a sheet. You cannot read
right.
that on a sheet.
Not at that time. Not at that time, no. Now you can go on, like I said, go on YouTube. There's a 12-year-old kid showing you how to play the thing, you know, and he's doing it really damn good, you know? So it's, yeah, but back in the day when I learned it, but I never, even when I watch other people do it, I'm still going, oh, you know, that's something I didn't catch. Or, you know, when I listen to it on the original album again, I'll go, that's something I didn't hear, you know, the first time. I'm always.
Wow, so you're going back and listening to the original album.
I always revisit a lot of stuff that we do, because after time, you start doing your own, like this lick right here. I was like, oh shit, I was leaving that out. You know what I mean? So it's little things like that. I'm so anal about it, you know.
Now, what is your favorite type of music to play?
I love everything, you know. Of course, Van Halen's probably my favorite stuff to play, because, you know, being a guitar player, there was, you know, when I was a kid, I heard Jimi Hendrix, and I wasn't blown away by it. You know what I mean? I was like, that guy's good. He's phenomenal. He's one of the best I've ever heard. But I was more blown away by Mississippi Queen by Leslie West. You know what I mean? The sound, you know. You know, I was like, oh, that sounds badass, you know? And so I wanted to learn that kind of stuff. But, you know, it wasn't until, of course, I heard Richie Blackmore from Deep Purple that I was holy fuck, that guy kicks ass, you know? So then I really started getting into it. And then Eddie came out, and I was like, oh, dude, this is totally new. So as far as guitar players go, you know, I was influenced by Robin Trower more than Jimi Hendrix. Mm-hmm. I loved Robin Trower. I loved Mark Farner from Grand Funk Railroad. He was my first guitar hero. And then, of course, after that, Robin Trower. And then I heard Richie Blackmore, started getting into Deep Purple. And then Eddie Ted Nugent came out. I thought he was great. But then Eddie just like took it to a whole nother level. You know what I mean? There was that whole, holy fuck, what's that guy doing? Why is he doing it like that? He's just incredible. So yeah, And you know what? I've heard a great player since. Steve Vai, I've seen Steve Vai, I've seen Yngwie Malmsteen, I've seen some really great players, but there's just something so different about Eddie that was just made him such a great guitar player. And if you're going to learn, a lot of my friends just gave up playing after they heard Eddie. You know, they were like, "Oh, fuck, we'll never."
Do that.
Yeah. I'm not going to be able to. How do you match that? You know what I mean? And you can't beat them, join them, right?
But look at Slash. Slash is a different type of guitarist, has his own unique sound. But, but he's just as good in his own way.
He's great
Eddie.
for what he's doing, right? Exactly. Yeah. Guys like that, I listen to and I go, he's another one that comes. Tom Murillo, we were talking about earlier. He's another one. These guys come around once in a lifetime. You know, Eddie just came along once in 10 lifetimes. You know what I mean?
In a decade.
Such an innovator.
Over a decade, yeah.
Right.
My mom had my dad listened to doo-wop, so there's a lot of albums that we used to have. And there's Otis Redding. He had Otis Redding albums. Wow. And my mom had this one album, and I actually stole it from her years ago. It's Otis Redding and Jimi Hendrix Experience live.
Now, yeah. I remember that album.
Yeah. So I have that.
Was that? Was that recorded at Monterey Pop Festival?
Yeah, it was. I think it's Monterey Festival.
Right. But they're both of them on the same album. Oh yeah, I remember. My dad used to listen to stuff like that. He's the one that turned me on to Jimi Hendrix.
Your father? Yes,
believe it or not. He was into Creedence, another great band I loved playing was Creedence. And, my dad was a big Creedence fan. He listened to all the Beatles. He loved the Beatles too. I was so lucky to have a father like that. He just passed away.
One of the greatest drummers of all times, believe it or not, was Ringo Starr. But you listen to him play on the drums with the Beatles songs, and it looks like so simple, so easy. But he's one of the best drummers there was.
Yeah. Because he's an innovator.
Innovator.
If you listen to songs like what is that? Dun dun dun, dun Come Together. He does this little he's doing all these little rolls, and it's just he would fit in the song. How do you find a drummer that good? They were lucky to come upon him at the end there, near the end. So great guitar player or drummer.
Right.
One of my favorites.
Now, Ozzy, when he left Black Sabbath, came in luck with his guitarist. Can you play Crazy Train?
Let me see. See if I remember. Something like that. Yeah.
Randy, what's his last name? I can't remember the guitarist.
Randy Rhoads.
Well, yeah, Randy Rhoads. There you go.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Again, not one of my favorites. I always thought that he sounded a little dirtier and there was more fuzz than there was substance in his guitar playing. But I had to learn Crazy Train once.
Right.
And that gave me a whole new appreciation for him, because he's going. And then I'm going, okay, that's cool. But then he does this. He's doing this really cool
little. Your fingers are so fast.
But he was so good, dude. He was great.
Your fingers move so quick. And to you, it's probably natural. To me, it's like, what the hell is he doing?
No, I trust me. I said, here's how I start stuff off. It's like, I learned something like that. You know what I mean? It sounds like shit. And it's just from, again, just going over it and over it. And I piss everybody in my house off. Everybody hates the song by the time I learn it. They're like, fuck that song. I don't want to hear it no more, And I can't blame them. I really can't blame them. I'll wear the believe this, you're going to trip on this, brother. I was playing, I was just jamming on.
The Knack.
Yeah. And I'm going, okay, that's cool. But then I found a whole new appreciation for the lead player in the Knack. His name was Brett Avery or something like that.
Right.
And this guy is just doing some of the best chops in that song. And I couldn't wait to learn it. I couldn't wait to learn his lead part in that song. It's just phenomenal. He's doing some really cool licks. So it's like you learn appreciation for guys like Randy Rhoads or Brett Avery or Robin Trower or just Richie Blackmore, the guys that I love listening to. They're just phenomenal.
When you listen to the Knack, that's the song that you remember.
Mm-hmm.
They're not one hit wonders, but they had this one song that was catchy and it caught on. But
Right.
they do so much other music that sounds way better than the song that hit the number one. And
that's a curse. Yeah, it's a blessing and it's a curse in the same time because
right.
I mean you probably remember Peter Frampton, his live album.
Oh yeah,
Frampton Comes Alive. It was a curse. It was a great album. I remember hearing Peter Frampton before he came out with that live album.
Right.
Thinking, this guy's really good. I liked him. But when I heard the live album, I go, oh my God, that's phenomenal. And I go, try to beat that now.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a curse.
But Eddie Van Halen was able to do it.
Yeah.
With different singers.
Yeah. And several times, you know what I mean? That's what I loved about the Beatles, in the sense that the Beatles could do, they came out and they were this bubblegum top of Fab Four, whatever, that kind of music. And it's like, but they changed it. Then they kept evolving and they kept evolving. Then there was Sgt. Pepper's, like
I have that album too.
And then they did it again with Abbey Road. And I'm just going,
yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah. How many, Eddie was like that. Phenomenal.
The change of those bands, especially coming from other countries, they came over, they gave us a new sound, but then they changed that sound and they changed it. They kept innovating themselves, something different, something unique, something modern that nobody ever heard of. And it would be like, oh my God, why are they doing that? Like Queen in doing opera. It was crazy, but it worked.
Yeah, Queen's another great band.
One of the bands that I love to listen to every single album, and every single album is different to me, the Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones were the same type of band. They went from rock, disco, I mean, just in and out of different flavors. Different music.
They changed with the times.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, like, I used to work.
They didn't change with the times. They were the change.
They made the times. Yeah, they made the times. Right. And it's, I used to work for this guy out in Riverside for alarm company back when I was, I don't know, younger. And it was, he was Bo Donaldson in the Haywoods. Now, I don't know if you remember Bo Donaldson in the Haywoods. They wrote that song, Billy, Don't Be a Hero. It was such a gay song. You know what I mean? But it sold a lot of albums, and he had a hit. He had a commercially successful hit. But he was my boss. You know what I mean? And what happened was he failed. I think, it's easy for me to Monday morning quarterback after I'm just a lead guitar player in a cover band. I don't write my own stuff, but I do, but it's just not like that. They had hits, and their curse was they had just one hit wonders. You know what I mean? They were just one. And it's so sad because, it's not easy to keep being successful like Van Halen was, or like the Beatles were, like you said, the Stones or Deep Purple. A lot of bands, those are the far and few bands. And I think we're kind of living in that time right now, where we're, with hip hop and stuff like that, we're hearing a lot of one hit wonders. History has a weird way of repeating.
What's happening with today's bands or today's boy bands or however you want to look at it, is
BTS,
they break up and be their own person, or
they all go solo.
Yeah, they all go solo. The Rolling Stones, there will never ever be another band like them, ever.
No. And I feel the same way about the Beatles. There'll never be another Beatles. You know what I mean? And the Stones is another one. There's a lot of good.
They could pick up their instruments today and do a concert and sell out easily.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And they could even put out a new album today and sell.
Yeah. Another great band that keeps evolving is the Foo Fighters. To watch Dave Grohl, to watch Dave Grohl go from Nirvana to, his own,
I
the
know.
Foo Fighters.
Who would have thought? I mean,
Yeah, and what a fucking amazing talent that guy is, and he has the most simplest way of looking at things. You know what I mean? He evolves with the days
he
and with
was
the
he
times.
was
I like
in
that.
he was in two of the most greatest bands,
Right,
and he was successful in both of them.
right.
But when he was under Nirvana, he had no control whatsoever. He did
Right.
whatever Kurt wanted, Kurt
He did.
got, and he was the drummer. But he
Right.
had ideas, but
Right.
he didn't let them out
Right.
until the Foo Fighters came. And the Foo Fighters came along. It was like, oh my gosh, something totally different, something totally new, and it's still
I agree. I think it's important that that people like Dave Grohl's the greatest example of it, or even people like George Harrison and the Beatles or Paul McCartney. They know their spot and they fill it, and they know their position. Exactly. They don't rock the boat. You know what I mean? And Mick Jagger's another one, and Keith Richards is another. Those guys, they know what to do and when to do it. And then they do their solo thing. Look at Paul McCartney, the success he had, John Lennon. It's amazing that these guys can go from, it's hard. It's got to be the hardest thing for any band to do is to stay in the limelight, with success. It really is,
Phil Collins, a drummer.
What?
Another example. Phil Collins is an awesome drummer, but he came out of the shadow and did his own thing.
Yeah, from Genesis to Phil Collins, you know what I mean? Guys that it's in their blood, I think, how could you not? Like, I watch old videos of Eddie Van Halen just writing songs that are coming along 5 years later than what they showed the recording date, and I'm like, wow, his head's always going.
The 1984 album, and the first song that came off of that album was Jump. I heard that song and I thought it was too poppy. I thought it was just a gimmick, and that is one of the most popular Van Halen songs there. That is the most popular Van Halen song.
Isn't that insane?
And there's so much I will sing to it today, but back then I didn't sing to it. It was like, that's a probably. But you come out with Panama, that song's a Hot for Teacher, that song off of that same album. They had so many other hits I thought were better than Jump. But Jump,
because man, it people like yourself, people like you, myself, that we're musically inclined. We might not be able to play everything all the time, but we have good ears, and we know when somebody's kicking ass. And it's almost a shame. Like, I don't think Van Halen ever had with David Lee Roth a #1 album until 5150 with Sammy Hagar. Then they started selling, And I think there's so much great early Van Halen stuff.
There was so much magic with Eddie Van Halen and David Lee Roth.
Right.
But it just was overshadowed by, I'd say David Lee Roth. His complete attitude. It's David Lee Roth. That's why they came back with him. They either got to accept it, but I've seen so many interviews with Eddie just complaining and arguing about David Lee Roth and just mad at him for
they had those
being
problems.
David Lee Roth.
They had those problems. They had those problems with him before the band even made it.
Yep.
It was already.
They've always had it. So,
but what a showman! He knew how to sell Van Halen.
Yep,
Van Halen didn't even know how to sell Van Halen, and Eddie being the greatest guitar player at the time, he couldn't sell Van Halen.
Yep.
He needed David Lee Roth, And yes, with Sammy Hagar, I love Sammy Hagar because he is just, let's face it, he's a much better vocalist than David Lee Roth ever was. You know what I mean? And still is. But David Lee Roth is the whole package.
But you could listen to a David Lee Roth song and know that is David Lee Roth right there.
Oh yeah.
You can listen to Sammy Hagar songs and you got to kind of guess, is that Sammy Hagar? It sounds like it's Sammy Hagar.
Right.
That might be Sammy Hagar.
Right.
But with David Lee Roth, that's David Lee Roth.
And there was a learning curve with him as far as, I'm good friends with people who literally jammed with Van Halen in David Lee Roth's dad's house, in their basement there. Yeah. So, and good friends. And they were always going at it. There was a time when Alex was almost replaced by a friend of mine. Yeah. So they're so technical, but I think they realized, and then Roth let it get to his head at the end, I think. I don't need these guys, I don't need these guys, which is a shame.
Part of that poppy sound, part of the poppy sounds that went along with Van Halen, out of every album, they did some of the poppy sounds, and they recorded them. That was David Lee Roth. That was David Lee Roth. Yeah. He loves to be poppy. He loves to be a showman. He loves to do that kind of swing music, and that want to hear something. Yeah, you want to hear something. I always had this thing on David Lee Roth. What an asshole, you know what I mean? And then a long time ago, my wife, her mother died. I think this was back in '85. And anyway, so I'm at the hospital in San Gabriel Community Hospital, and in comes walking David Lee Roth, right? Now, I'd already met Eddie Van Halen back in 1980 something. I think his second album had just come out, 79, 80, at Magic Mountain. He was a jerk. He really was an asshole to us anyways. But I hear he's got such a big heart, but he was just being a jerk that day. So here comes David Lee Roth walking in the hospital, and he's going mountain climbing. He needs a hemoglobin shot to go mountain climbing. More red blood cells and I don't know, more oxygen or whatever. He's climbing mountains. So I'm like, I say, hey, Dave, how's it going? What are you doing here? I'm getting a hemoglobin shot. Anyways, I said, hey, man, would you mind, my wife's mother, they're going to pull the plug on their machine. Would you mind going and talking to him and signing autographs? And the guy was the most stand-up person you'd ever want to meet. He wasn't David Lee Roth at that moment. He was a human being. He wasn't trying to sell anything. He doesn't always try to sell something. I think he tries to just be himself.
Right.
And that's him.
Yeah. The way you put a camera on him, he goes nuts. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's instant David Lee Roth, the star. But at that hospital, he was the most congenial human being I think I've ever met. And it was like, wow, I had a newfound respect for the guy after that. And I said, hey, I like your new guitar player, Steve Vai. He just got Steve Vai in the band. He goes, yeah, he kicks ass, huh? And I go, fuck yeah, he kicks ass. But what a great human being he ended up being. And it's just, you got to know him for what it's worth and not the star guy. There's only so long.
Andy, it's almost time for us to go.
Oh,
I had a great time talking
to
you.
We could do this forever.
Oh yeah, we could talk music forever. I love discussing music.
Yeah, me too.
So you have an upcoming gig this weekend at the Canyon Lakes?
Yeah, Sports Stop in Canyon Lake. That's between Lake Elsinore and Menifee.
Menifee, yeah.
Yeah, I believe the show time's at about 8 o'clock, 8 to 11 or 8 to 12 midnight or something. I'm not sure. Like I told you earlier, I didn't know what shit we're doing until like a few hours before it.
And then you have another gig at Irwindale Speedway.
Irwindale Raceway at the next day. It's a private event, although I think if you're in the park, I don't know how it can be private. So anyways, we're looking forward to it because these are the first California shows we've done in a while. We've been playing out.
We have the opportunity to hearing you guys come out and do Scare Fair on October 30th. We cannot wait for that. I'm
so excited to be doing that gig, dude.
Yeah.
But you never told me, how did you first hear about us or see us?
I was going through bands. And I was looking up cover bands. We have a great cover band that playing that evening, and that's going to be American Zombie. They do a great cover of Rob Zombie.
Right.
And they do an awesome cover. They sound like them, look like them, act like them. So I wanted something to complement what we had and be able to and I kept listening to your music over and over and over. I said, these guys are great. I didn't need to get a hold of them. And so I got a hold of Lydia, your wife, and that's how you guys came about. But I can't wait to see you guys perform.
It's a small world. Then we find out we lived in the same city and all that other shit. I'm like, oh my God, it's a small world. It really is. Yeah. Well, thank you for the opportunity to do. We look forward to that gig. And like I said, it's perfect for our bass player because he lives right up there with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's in Victorville. So and he does the open mic night at the what's the name of that place? I forget. But anyways, he's going to kill me for not remembering that. But yeah, go see him.
Is it at the golf course?
No. He does an
Oh.
open mic at, it used to be called a different name, Bombshells.
Oh,
called
Bombshell. Oh, okay,
Bombshells.
Bombshells. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he usually does that
that's
Saturday.
Close to the fairgrounds also.
Right. Saturday and Sunday. And then I want to say we've played at this fairground before, have we? Oh,
I have no idea.
we played at the Town's End, which is a different.
Okay. Over in Apple Valley.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's been a while since we played in California. We're definitely looking forward to that night because we can't wait to do the Scare Fair. That's going to be cool.
That's going to be a lot of fun. That whole event's going to be fun.
What's the date on that again?
October 30th.
Okay, you guys,
October
don't
30th.
forget October 30th. You got to be there.
Roadwork will be on about hit the stage about 5:30 to 7:30 around that time somewhere, and then American Zombies going on. Right.
All right. Well, thank you for the opportunity, my brother. I'm glad you liked it.
All right. You take it easy. It's great talking to you,
my friend.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. This is my private life. My public life as an American
public
nerd.
now.
Yeah, totally public now. All right, we'll talk to you later. Everybody have a good day. Bye.
Peace, everybody. Bye. Thank you. Okay, so we're not recording anymore.